Life is all about adventures and taking risks. Are you really living life if you're not doing something out of the ordinary every now and again? A lot of the games that I've played over my life have taught me many valuable lessons, but this one game that I recently discovered may have taught me the most important one of all. Sometimes you just got to go out there and get what you want, achieve your dreams. If you can dream it, you can do it. That's right, folks. Pack your bags, because in today's episode, we are going on a journey, an unforgettable journey, which is the 1997 classic Grandia. Developed by Game Arts for the Sega Saturn in 1997 in Japan and later ported to the PlayStation 1, Grandia begins with Justin, a spirited and ambitious adventurer living in the port town of Parm. He dreams of becoming an adventurer, just like his father, who vanished years ago on an adventure, and his mother is really worried that he will try to follow in her late husband's footsteps. Justin's curiosity for adventure is fueled by his certainty that there is more to the world than what's already been discovered. See, the thing is, there's a giant stone wall called the End of the World, and the perception is that there's nothing else beyond it. Justin is obsessed with the idea of reaching the end of the world, as it is said to be the ultimate destination for adventurers, holding untold treasures and ancient secrets. One day, Justin and his friend Sue travel to a dig site not too far away from their town. Now, while investigating these ruins, Justin sees a hologram of a woman named Liete. The hologram tells him to travel to a lost city beyond the edge of the world called Alent, where she resides and where he can learn what actually happened to the ancient city of Angelou. Meanwhile, the Garlisle forces, a private military, and the bad guys of the game are doing their own research on the Angelou. Justin and his friends are constantly at odds with the Garlisle forces, and it really becomes a race of who's going to get there first and solve the unknown mysteries of the world: a 14-year-old boy or a massive military force. As the story progresses, the stakes get higher, the world gets bigger, and the story still manages to play like a kid's cartoon. Whimsical, but with serious undertones. It's a really great breath of fresh air from other JRPGs of the time that featured more real and adult themes. Now, eventually you do find out why the Angelou civilization disappeared, and who or what or why it even disappeared to begin with, and how you're going to stop them now in present day. Are Justin and his friends up to the task? I don't know. We'll find out. The battle system in Grandia combines turn-based and real-time elements, creating an engaging and strategic experience that I honestly haven't found in any other game since. The core of Grandia's battle system revolves around the initiative bar, or the IP bar, which represents the order in which characters and enemies take their turns. Each character and enemy has their own icon on the bar, which moves from left to right as time progresses. Now, unlike traditional turn-based JRPGs, actions in Grandia are executed based on the character's position on the initiative bar. Characters can perform various actions such as attacks, using skills or items, but they must wait until their turn reaches the command phase. The most distinctive feature of Grandia's battle system is the ability to interrupt and cancel the enemy's actions. By attacking or using certain skills on an enemy while they are in the prepare phase, players can delay or cancel the enemy's attack. This feature alone is what really sold me on the battle system, because players must carefully time their actions to disrupt the enemy's plans. Now, prior to actually playing Grandia, I read a lot online about how unique and imaginative this battle system is, and how it could be the greatest battle system of all time. I was actually really well impressed with how fun and immersive and kind of almost intuitive the battle system was. And at no point did I really feel like I was truly outmatched or outnumbered. Most battles kind of felt really manageable, so it was really fun. Now, your characters don't start out with magic, but as the story progresses, you find mana eggs, which essentially give you the ability to learn new magic spells: fire, earth, wind, water, your usual kind of stuff. And in typical JRPG fashion, the more you use, the stronger it gets. Now, Grandia does not have a random battle like in typical JRPG sense, so the enemies that you see on screen are the enemies that you fight. So either an enemy runs into you and they get the first turn, or you run into them, giving you a preemptive strike. I found most of these battles to be much faster paced than your typical turn-based fare, allowing for exploration to continue relatively quickly. This battle system is and should be praised for its blend of real-time and turn-based mechanics. The strategic depth of canceling and combos, and the interplay between character and enemy actions on the initiative bar. These elements come together to create a dynamic and engaging combat experience that sets Grandia apart from more traditional RPGs. And if you're like me and you've been binging nothing but turn-based JRPGs for the last few years, It's a welcome change. As with any game, of course, no game is complete without a really great cast of characters. And during my travels, I think it was maybe 40 or 50 so hours that I actually put into Grandia. There was so many great characters, so many great moments, so many funny places as well that I found myself. But aside from Justin, some of my favorite characters in Grandia were... Sue is Justin's best friend and neighbor in Parm. She joins Justin on his adventures and provides comic relief with her quirky and sometimes clumsy behavior. Sue has a strong bond with Justin and supports him on his quest. Fina is a spirited and skilled adventurer who Justin and Sue encounter early on in the game. She becomes Justin's mentor and joins him on his quest to explore the world. Her backstory and secrets are gradually revealed as the story unfolds. Rap is a treasure hunter who has a fondness for food. He joins the party and provides comic relief with his obsession for money and his humorous one-liners. After earning his respect through battle, Gadwin becomes somewhat of a father figure to Justin, towers over him, and is an absolute tank in battle. Unfortunately, Gadwin doesn't stay for long in the game, but he does leave a lasting impression. While the graphics of Grandia on the PlayStation 1 and Sega Saturn may appear dated by modern standards, they were really well received at the time of the game's release. The combination of 2D character sprites with pre-rendered 3D backgrounds along with the anime-inspired art style really helped Grandia stand out as a visually appealing RPG in the late 1990s. The characters and monsters are made with great detail and vibrant colors, while the pre-rendered 3D backgrounds provide a sense of depth and atmosphere. When exploring the overworld and dungeons, players navigate through pre-rendered 3D environments. These areas feature a mix of outdoor landscapes, towns, caves, and dungeons, each with its own visual characteristic. Now, the game's charm and engaging story are often credited as more important than its graphical fidelity in terms of lasting appeal. However, the footage shown in this video is from the HD remaster, which is based on the PlayStation version, but also incorporates elements of the Sega Saturn version. It really looks great for a remaster. Grandia also featured FMV cutscenes, which were a joy to see throughout the story, and somewhat related to the cutscenes, the voice acting in Grandia. Yes, Grandia does have voice acting in some parts, and no, it's not stellar, but you know what? I love it. I think it's great, and it adds a lot of charm with its imperfection. And its imperfection makes it perfect to me, if you know what I mean.
Justin's brain can't get any worse than it already is. Mom?
Composed by Noriyuki Iwadare, the music of Grandia is celebrated for its memorable melodies, evocative themes, and its ability to enhance the game's atmosphere and emotional depth by the use of real instruments like this one here. The cool thing about how technology had advanced in the 90s is games were able to utilize CD quality audio and actual real recordings rather than some MIDI samples that developers and sound composers and sound designers were able to squeeze on a tiny little cartridge like I talked about in my Final Fantasy VI video a couple of weeks ago. The composer of this game was pretty clever and actually used some real orchestral arrangements with a real orchestra, and man, some of those tracks sound like early 80s Japanese city pop. It's really good. And if you know anything about me, you know I love my Japanese music. The soundtrack to Grandia is a really fantastic experience. The music for towns, dungeons, and the overworld captures the essence of each location. Town themes are often soothing and reflect the daily life of the townsfolk, while dungeon music can be tense and foreboding, adding to the sense of exploration. The battle themes in Grandia are great as well, with my favorite being Battle 3, one that I covered for my Retro Game Remix project a few years ago. Check it out. Now, like I said, if you do play Grandia, you are in for a real treat because there are so many great and catchy songs in the soundtrack. You're really going to love it. Now, thanks to some early marketing in the West and reviews, Grandia was supposed to be a Final Fantasy VII killer, and there's no real way to beat the huge cultural impact that Final Fantasy VII had at the time, and of course still has. So saying that in reviews or press is really setting yourself up for disappointment. And there's no real comparing the two either because they're vastly different games set in different worlds, different graphics, and even a different battle system. You cannot compare Final Fantasy VII and Grandia. Grandia's real strength, however, is in its storytelling and character development. The maturation of Justin's character is night and day from the start of the game to where, of course, he ends up. And I love Justin as a character. really relatable. Justin is just a young kid who wants to follow in the footsteps of his dad, his hero. And in doing so, he becomes possibly a better adventurer than not only his father, but better than anyone else would have predicted throughout the story. Grandia is a game that will have you on the edge of your seat from the moment you start playing. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll be totally immersed in this living, breathing world. And the only downside that I can really give to Grandia is some of the maps, some of the dungeons kind of have a labyrinth or maze-like feel. So it is kind of easy to get lost in some areas, but overall, if you can look past that, man, Grandia is one hell of a ride. So whether you play the originals on PlayStation 1 or the Sega Saturn, or now, better yet, with the HD remasters available on Steam and the Nintendo Switch and all that stuff, there is really no better time to get into this really kind of unique and underrated JRPG series. Now, Grandia did go on to have a couple more sequels. There was Grandia 2 on the Dreamcast, and that's bundled in with the HD remaster. And I haven't played Grandia 3 or Grandia Extreme, I think is. But look, Grandia is a really great starting point if you want something different that's not your average kind of Final Fantasy fare. I really, truly love Grandia so much. I had a great time with the game. And just remember, with a lot of these retrospective things that I'm doing on YouTube, I'm really only scratching the surface and not giving away a lot, because I want to encourage you, if you haven't played Grandia before, to go check out the game. And it is a game that is thankfully readily available on modern consoles. So that concludes today's video. Please, if you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on Grandia. If you've played it, one of your favorite moments. If you haven't played it, or if you did play it and you didn't like it, let me know. I read and reply to everything. With that being said, we'll see you again on the next video. Take care.